and welcome to another used car heaven here on Men & Motors. On this week's programme we're going off-road. We've got three superb 4x4s to try out. A Range Rover, a Jeep and a Mitsubishi Shogun. And we'll be meeting this week's lucky viewer very soon. Also on the programme, Simon Hughes, the car doctor, is back in the surgery and Brad has more insider tips at the trading post. The things you need to know if you're heading off to buy a new used car very soon. But before that, let's meet this week's viewer. And it's Craig Smith, who's 22 and from Whitley Bay. Now, Craig's a salesman, so he does a fair amount of travelling. At the moment, he drives a VW Corrado and a Ford Probe. But why is he looking for a 4x4 off-roader? Hi, Craig. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on today here on Used Car Heaven. What are you looking for at the moment, then? What's the ideal car for you?
I'm looking for a 4x4 that looks good, basically.
Why do you want to get into a 4x4?
Too many points on the licence. You need to slow down a bit.
So you need to slow down, take things a bit easier, and you reckon a 4x4 is the car to do it in?
I've done it in the past, had one before, so...
What are you looking to spend? What's your budget?
Anything up to 14,000, yeah, I can't really go over 14,000.
Anything else on your shopping list that you particularly want on the 4x4?
Not particularly. I like to see what you've got. And
petrol, diesel?
Petrol, preferably.
Okay.
Not keen on diesels.
Well, the first one that we've got for you is this. It's the Jeep Cherokee. It's the Limited. It's a manual, and it is in fact a diesel.
Right.
But it's certainly worth considering.
Certainly.
It's a big yank tank, for want of a better word.
Yep.
Is it looking a bit dated these days, do you think?
It looks like a 4x4 should look, I would think. It's rugged the way it looks.
It is.
I don't think it's quite sleek enough, to be honest with you.
Well, this is the cheapest of the three cars.
Yeah.
It's under £8,000.
Oh, it's
not bad for the money. Come and have a look at the second one that we've got lined up for you, or second 4x4. It's this. It's the very popular Mitsubishi Shogun. Sure. Very rugged, very reliable, Japanese quality, of course. It's a 3-litre. It's a V6.
Bigger engine, yeah.
But it's the short wheelbase.
Mm-hmm.
Is
I love
space,
the look of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah? Are you not bothered about space? You go for a 3
No,
rather
I mean,
than a 5
there's only me usually drives it.
They look great, the Shoguns, certainly, very chunky.
They look superb, to be honest with you.
I mean, they have been updated fairly recently, the Shoguns, and the latest one is even better than this, but I think this is a cracking buy.
A
lot more expensive. I mean, this is 10,500.
That's a good price, yeah. That's
good
what I'm looking to pay, and it looks right, you know.
Good colour.
A lovely colour, yeah.
Yeah. Looks smart. Might do the business. It's a
Should
manual.
do, hopefully.
Manual or auto?
Manual's fine, yeah.
Manual's fine.
Doesn't make a difference.
Have a look at the third, which is this.
Yep.
Third and final 4x4 that we've got for you is this, the Range Rover. Certainly the most luxurious of the three.
Certainly it's a status symbol, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Obviously, it's just been superseded by a brand new Range Rover.
Yeah.
But that means that these are dropping back in price, although this is at the top end of your budget, £14,000. And it's a standard car as well. It's not got the leather on, and there's probably
I noticed that.
Gadgets and gizmos that you get on like the HSE that you don't get on this standard 4-litre.
I still love it though as a car. I think it looks right.
It looks great, doesn't it?
Looks great, yeah.
Well, the most important thing is the way it drives. So jump in, we'll take it out for a spin. But before that, here's Brendan Coogan with more news on the Range Rover.
The name's changed, by the way. It's not Brendan Coogan anymore. It's Bernard Cregan, the Marquis of Burnage in Manchester, because I, with my Range Rover, have joined the jet set. You are not going to believe what good value this car is. It's a Range Rover 4-litre petrol. It hasn't got bags of extras, so there's no air conditioning, there's no leather, but it's done nearly all of its depreciating. It was £37,000 new. Now it's an R97 and it's about £14,000. Now, all right, that's outside of Craig's budget, but it means that you could get a 94M or L for about 9 or 10 grand. Remembering, of course, to look for those air conditioning electrics out the window, get yourself a Range Rover. Get some fizzy cherry aid, pretend it's Pimm's, get yourself some mushy peas, call it guacamole, and you could be the new Sloan Ranger. A stunning car, bags of off-road ability. You're going to look the dog's whiskers driving down the motorway. It's an absolutely dream car. In fact, I fell in love with this car when I first saw Purdy getting out of Gambits in the new Avengers. If I've lost you there, I'm sorry, I'm showing my age. It's a fantastic Range Rover. Craig, it's up to you. You can keep your Mitsubishis for me. This is pure English style.
Thanks, Brendan. Well, we're in the first of our cars for Craig to drive. It's a Range Rover, it's a 4-litre, it's a base model. I have to admit, I'm a big fan of Range Rovers. I've always loved these cars.
Oh, you got to like the looks of them, haven't you?
Do you like them?
Oh, I love the looks of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they could have done a little bit more with the interior on this particular one.
That's the only trouble. Buying this sort of age of car, this is an R-Edge car, so it's, what, 4 years, 5 years old, something like that. At that stage, I mean, you know, if you bought the base model like this, they were very basic. I mean, there's no climate control on it, no air conditioning. Some of the upper models, you get your heated seats and all that sort of stuff, but It's got a sunroof. It's very comfortable though, isn't it?
Electric windows all around.
Electric windows.
Drives nice, it drives nice and smooth, you know. You could happily just go to work in this every day.
Just tootle around. Of course, it's a big car. I mean, bags of space back there.
Oh yeah, I mean the boot's absolutely huge in the back. I think it's good value for what it is. It's a Range Rover at the end of the day. Everyone wants one, I suppose.
But when you think about it, it was 38 grand when it was new.
That's it. It's taken a hefty drop over the few years, hasn't it? I mean, I love the car, to be honest with you. The car drives superb. It's very easy.
Smooth, isn't it?
That's it. Easy going.
It's done 53,000 miles. Again, another thing to check out. It's got full service history on it.
That's
a must on this sort of car. Really,
I definitely wouldn't buy one out of service history on this sort of car.
And of course, the other big thing that's going to cost you in your wallet is petrol.
Oh yes, with a 4-litre engine.
Put your foot down on this thing, and I mean, around town, you're looking at about sort of 13 miles to gallon.
Little as that.
On the motorway, 20. These shaped Range Rovers came out in 1994 and continued until the new model came out this year. So these are the sort of prices you could pay. A 99 S-Reg, 62,000 miles for 20,995, or an early M-Reg 95 2.5 turbo diesel with 84,000 miles for just under 10 grand. So there we are, Craig. That is the Range Rover. Is it the ultimate luxury off-roader, do you think, still?
I would think so. It's definitely one of them, yeah.
The only thing with this car, as we were saying before, is it's the base model.
Yeah.
So it's not got much on it. It's very basic.
Would prefer leather interior, definitely.
And climate control in a car like this with all those windows is an absolute must, isn't it?
That's it, or some form of air conditioning of some sort, yeah.
Now this car is at the top end of your price bracket, just under 14 grand. Do you think you might maybe consider going for a slightly older Range Rover and getting a better spec car?
Yeah, I definitely think I would do that, yeah.
But you
I
like
love the car itself, it drives
yeah.
beautiful, yeah.
It's great, isn't it? Well, listen, you get to drive the Shogun next, but
right.
before that, we need to head off to the surgery. And here's the car doctor, Simon Hughes.
Today we're looking at Land Rovers, and in particular the front axle. Well, this is a common problem that happens on Range Rovers and Land Rover Discoveries as well. And it's actually a mistake that the owners make on maintenance, in that we're looking at the axle which runs between the wheels, because this is a four-wheel drive. And it's actually in three parts. We've got the middle bit, which is a differential that everybody knows about, but we've also got the outer bits, which these are the outer swivel hubs, and they've also got oil in them. So we've got three areas that need checking for oil. Now the mistake is that owners don't necessarily know this, and they only check the middle bit, and over a sort of period of time of a few years, the outer bits can run out of oil, and it damages the joints and damages the swivels, and you get a lot of play in the wheels, and they'll fail an MOT. So what my tip is when you're underneath your car and you're checking the level plug on your axle, check the middle one and the two outer ones as well. That way, your Land Rover, Range Rover or Discovery axle will last for years.
Thanks very much, Simon. There'll be more from the Car Doctor next week here on Used Car Heaven. But on this week's programme, we're looking to find the perfect 4x4 for Craig. He's already driven the Range Rover, and now we're going to take this Mitsubishi Shogun out for a spin. And Brendan Coogan has more information about the Shogun.
See, that's called a spoiler for one very good reason. It spoils the look of the car. If you want a spoiler, go and get a Mitsubishi Evo, not this, the Mitsubishi Shogun. If you ever wanted a recommendation of what off-roader to buy, have a look at what farmers drive. Never mind the car park at Sainsbury's or Tesco on a Sunday. This car is a serious daddy when it comes to going off-road. It is a Mitsubishi Shogun V6 3-litre petrol engine, 24 valve, lots of power on the road. Very, very, very capable off-road. Have a think about that, Craig. I don't know how high on your list of priorities that is. It's a 98S. It's all of the money you've got to spend, because at the moment this is on the market for about 11 grand. You could perhaps get it a bit cheaper because it's got about average miles. Go for something a bit higher and you probably get what you're looking for. Inside, have a look. It's cheap and tacky and nasty. Lots of plastic, lots of very bad interior cloth. And what I always love on Mitsubishis is an altimeter. Something that tells you how high you are. Why? Anyway, that gets away from the point of the car. It is a brilliant off-roader, very spongy on-road, very limited driving capability, but look at it. It's bulky, it's macho, it's a daddy. Look at the size of those wheels. I quite like this car, but do you?
Thanks very much, Brendan. Well, we're in the second of our three cars for Craig. It's the Mitsubishi Shogun, 3-litre V6, 24 valve, short wheelbase. What do you think?
Lovely car to drive.
Yeah?
Yeah, really love the way it drives. And this car looks great as well, which is two of the most things I'm looking for. You know,
absolutely. What about performance-wise? Do you think it's a little bit quicker than a Range Rover?
I think it's a little bit quicker.
Bit pokey, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, to be honest with you. I think with manual gearbox as opposed to automatics making a big difference there.
I mean, you've got the same sort of power on this car. It's about 180 brake horsepower, so pretty much the same as the Range Rover.
Yeah, a fair bit of power then. It's a smaller car as well.
Absolutely. Certainly not as heavy. Now, what about the interior, though, on this, Craig?
Yeah, you know, I love the seats. The seats are very, very comfortable. I would like them to be leather, to be honest with you, just for looks more than anything else.
It's not as critical on a car like this,
It's
though, is
not.
it?
I mean, with a Range Rover, you sort of expect it, to be honest with you. On this, you can get away with it. I'm not keen on all the grey plastic. Everywhere you look is grey plastic, you know.
I mean, it's a typical Japanese car at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, they
a lot
go in
of
for
them
this
like it.
big time, don't they?
Yep.
And it doesn't look fantastic on a car like this. It's a
Doesn't
shame.
set it off because the exterior of the car looks absolutely faultless,
does,
you know,
doesn't
it's superb.
Price-wise, this is 10.5 grand. When it was new, it cost somewhere around £24,000. I mean, Shoguns on the whole are not particularly cheap cars. They're not on the budget end of the 4x4 market, that's for
They seem to hold the money very well
They
as
do,
well,
actually,
which is a
yeah.
good thing about them.
I mean, the long wheelbase versions of this are well over £30,000. The top of the range
right,
was
yeah.
pushing 35 grand.
I mean,
so-
it's £3,500 cheaper than a Range Rover, and it's just as much fun to drive,
Yeah,
to be honest with
yeah.
you. So.
Mitsubishi Shoguns come with a choice of 3 litre or 3.5 litre petrol or 2.5 and 2.8 turbo diesels. Again, the petrol engine cars are pretty thirsty, averaging around 22 to the gallon, but 31 for the diesel. They've been around since 1991 and continued in its present shape up to 2000. These are the sort of prices you could expect to pay. A Shogun short wheelbase 3 litre V6 96N with a high 100,000 miles for 7.5 grand. A 2.8 turbo diesel long wheelbase 94L 70,000 miles for just under 7 grand. Well, Craig, I've always liked the Shoguns. Do you like this one?
Absolutely love it, yeah. Superb quality fun.
Better than you thought?
Yeah, a lot
Really?
better than what I expected. I expected it to be a lot slower than the Range Rover, but it's about the same, to be honest with you.
It sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, it sounds great.
Sounds very good.
Sounds the best.
It does. And I think for the money, 10.5 grand is good value for money, considering it was 24 new.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I may consider spending a little bit extra and getting one with the leather, you know.
Yeah.
Again, it wouldn't cost much extra on this sort of.
So this is high up at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, you get a chance to drive the Jeep very soon in part 2 of the programme. Also in part 2, Brendan Coogan will have an alternative idea of a 4x4 for Craig, and there'll be more insider tips from Brad at the Trading Post. That's all in a couple of minutes. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Used Car Heaven. On this week's programme, we're looking to find the perfect 4x4 for Craig. He's already driven a Range Rover and a Mitsubishi Shogun. Soon he'll drive a Jeep Cherokee. Also coming up soon, Brad will have more insider tips at the Trading Post. But before that, here's Brendan with an alternative 4x4.
This American Beast is the real McCoy. And even as American Beasts go, this is a small one, apparently. Just shows that in America, big is beautiful. But once you get past that and have a look at this car for what it is, you'll discover something really cool about it. And that is that it is fully kitted. Sure, it's wallowy, sure, it's barge-like, but what 4x4 isn't? I think this is a real alternative. It's a 99T with not very many thousand miles on the clock, and yet it comes in at about £11,000, which I think is a bargain, because, as you will see, it is fully kitted. Come inside. You might want to get a pen and paper for this bit, because here we go. It's got cruise control, air conditioning, every 4x4 setting you would need, leather interior, a beautiful 4-speed automatic gearbox. It is the dog's whiskers. They're just American dog's whiskers. Craig, it's only an alternative, but think about it. The Chevy Blaze, it's for you.
Thanks, Brendan, for this week's alternative idea. Very soon here on Used Car Heaven, Brad will have more insider tips at the Trading Post, and we're going to take this Jeep Cherokee out for a spin now. But here's Brendan with more information about the Jeep.
Okay, Craig, you wanted something slow yet classy that's going to avoid those speeding points. Well, we think we've got the answer for you. This is an icon. A Jeep Cherokee limited edition 2.5 litre turbo diesel. It's a beauty on the outside, but do you remember like the TARDIS was small on the outside, big on the inside? This car, well, it's huge on the outside, but on the inside, well, space is pathetic. All right, I'm a big lad, but can you imagine going on a long journey in this car And in fact, you'd have to bring your seasickness tablets, not for the ride of the car, but because of all this plastic and fake wood. It is disgusting. Not one penny has been spent on this, on the design during the 70s or 80s. It's all really, look at that door handle. It's absolutely disgusting. But to have a go at the interior would be to miss the point of the Jeep Cherokee, because off-road this car is very, very capable. It really will do most of what you ask it to. This has got the very desirable 2.5 litre turbo diesel engine. Forget the 4 litre petrol, that's a waste of money. It will not have any residual value for you at all. This car, well, it's plenty of room in the front, just don't bring any of your small friends in the back. It's 8 grand, it's a 96 P reg. Go for that model, it's a reasonably good value, but just don't bring any really big friends with you.
Thanks very much, Brendan. Well, we're in the last of our 3 cars for Craig here to drive, and it's the Jeep Cherokee, defender of the American faith. The Yanks love these things. I mean, this thing just sells by the bucket load over in the States, and it's doing pretty well since it's launched in the UK as well. I mean, they've sold a lot of these cars.
Superb. The interior is very, very comfortable. Probably
These
the best
seats are
interior.
great, aren't they? Lovely seats.
Best out of all 3 we've tried.
I mean, you wouldn't really go for this sort of cloth
prefer it to
ideally.
be full leather if possible, but
very
you could certainly put up with these
You could, couldn't you?
for a long journey.
I suppose the thing about this sort of Jeep is that it's fairly old technology. They've not really.
Oldest of the 3, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And it looks it as well. But some people like the sort of very square, boxy image to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got some character about it. The car itself, I mean, with it being a diesel, it's a small extension of the 3, it still drives pretty well.
It's a 2.5, it's about 115 brake horsepower, so obviously it's not that powerful. It's a manual gearbox.
It's clunky, it's old, it's got a turbo in it, you can feel the turbo diesel getting itself away.
But it's not exactly going to be quick off the line, is it?
No, not particularly. Well, it's not built for that, I suppose. I mean, it's the cheapest of the 3.
It is. This is
very practical.
This is just under 8 grand. It was 24 when it was new.
Good saving. Very
so
good saving.
it's coming down a lot now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I say the car drives nice. It has the interior set out nice. It's very, very comfortable to sit in. I quite like it, to be honest with you. I was quite surprised. I didn't think I would like it.
No, I didn't think you would either.
No.
I'm surprised.
Once you've got to start up and settle down, the diesel engine's not so bad.
On the motorway.
Save you a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 30 miles to the gallon on something like this, as opposed to 15 to 20 on the other 2.
That's right.
Makes a difference in the old wallet at the end of the day.
It does. You know, running costs, especially on something like this, a 4x4, are always going to be high, but if you can get some minutes in between with us both, all the better.
It's got everything on it. It's well equipped. It's got climate control. It's got a reasonable stereo. Everything's electric on it. I mean, the mirrors, the seats,
all electric, yeah.
You name it. The windows, of course. The Yanks don't put up for those windy window things anymore.
Yeah, you got electric mirrors.
Everything to be powered by something.
You got your cruise control as well, same as the Coogan.
Yeah. The Jeep Cherokees come with a choice of 2.5 or 4 litre petrol engines or a very good 2.5 turbo diesel. Miles per gallon, well, the petrols are thirsty, 20 miles per gallon, but 34 for the diesel. Insurance range between Group 13 and 15, and they've been around since 1993. These are the sort of prices that we've seen cars for sale at. A Cherokee Sport 2.5 turbo diesel 98R with 55,000 miles for just under 8 grand. A 4 litre Cherokee R-Edge 63,000 miles for 8,250. Well, it's been a day full of surprises, Craig. You were surprised at the Shogun, and you've been surprised by the Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah, even more by a Cherokee. I mean, the drive's beautiful, the car. You would expect for the diesel to be a lot.
I mean, before you weren't keen on having a diesel.
No,
Or would you have a diesel now?
I would, possibly, yeah.
You could consider
I would
it?
definitely, after driving ones, I would consider having a diesel, yeah.
I mean, obviously, you've got to get more performance out of a petrol version.
Definitely, yeah.
And with an automatic gearbox, but you would consider a diesel?
Yeah, I would consider one, because they are going to save you some money.
OK, well, we don't know quite where you're going as far as a final verdict yet. We'll have to wait and see on that. But before that, here's Brad with more insider tips at the Trading Post.
Listen to that, awesome. This is a Tuscan S. As you can see, inside and out, a beautiful looking car. But there are a few points you need to be aware of when you're buying a TVR.
Let's
As most of you know, these cars are British built in Blackpool by a guy called Trevor, and they are notoriously unreliable, so it's always wise to build into your budget £2,000 for maintenance and also a recovery option. If you're going to maintain these cars, always do it through a specialist TVR dealer. You get very, very little driving assist options on these cars. The most you're going to get is power steering. Those are the negatives. The plus side is the car is fantastic to look at. It's also extremely quick. For the level of money that you spend on one of these, there's no way you're going to be able to get a new Porsche or a Ferrari. And best of all, the car is British.
It's decision time for Craig. You've had a good day with us today, hopefully.
I've enjoyed it, yes.
Yeah, driven some good 4x4s. We want a 3-2-1. We do it in reverse order.
Right.
Where are you going to place third?
It's got to be the Jeep.
The Jeep
I'm afraid.
Cherokee?
It drives nice, but I just don't like the looks of it that much.
Shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the updated version is a lot better than this, but of course you've got to spend the money to do it.
It's extra cost as well.
I mean, this was the cheapest car we had on offer.
Yeah.
£8,000.
It surprised me the most out of all three of them, I think.
It's a lot of car for the money still, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And you would even consider a diesel?
I would consider it. You'd have to drive in this one. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Third place for the Jeep. So, what's number 2?
it's got to be the Range Rover, I'm afraid.
The king has been dethroned, has it?
It has,
You put it
yes.
number 2.
If I had more money to spend, yes, I would go for a Range Rover and get higher spec to
You'd
it.
want the full kit on
I
it.
want the leather, you want
Yeah.
the HSE or something.
I don't blame you, I can see why.
Yeah, for the budget I'm on at the moment, it's not the right choice, I don't think.
And there's also maybe those potential little problems that goes wrong with Range Rovers
Big
occasionally.
engine, yeah.
Big engine, lots of money to spend on it.
That's right.
So
yeah.
Jeep number 3, Range Rover number 2, which means number 1 is the Mitsubishi Shogun. Well, here's a bit of a surprise. You really
That's
like
right.
this car, didn't you?
I do, yeah. I think it's got bits of everything put together, which makes it the best package, you know.
What are the main sort of features that really attracted you to this?
Well, it's the engine itself. I like the manual gearbox. It's a good, powerful engine. It sounds great. The car looks good. It seems a good buy. It's still pretty new, so
The Shogun is the winner.
definitely.
Thanks, Craig, for today. Thanks for
Excellent.
joining us. Hopefully you've had a good day. That's it for this week's Used Car Heaven. We'll be back again next week.